And welcome to Washington Unplugged. I'm Bob Schieffer. Well, the Christmas season is upon us. In Washington, that means lots of parties. We'll get the latest on Washington's most infamous party goers, the Salahis, this morning. And we'll talk about two of the least crashable parties that are happening just this weekend. Then Kaylee Hartung is going to be here with another Unplugged Under 40. It's about the Redskins and Wizards photographer, Ned Dishman. But first, I'm joined by Schroeder and Patrick Gavin from Politico. So let's get the latest news here on the Salahi family. Are these folks going to go to jail?
They're definitely going to get subpoenaed to go to testify in front of Congress. I mean, I think the lesson here is when Congress wants to talk to you, you have to go eventually. You know, they were invited this week. They did not show up. Now the House Homeland Security Committee chairman is saying, I'm subpoenaing you. I want to know what's going on.
You know, a lot of people say this is just sort of a distraction and so forth. I really don't agree. I mean, I think that state dinners are sort of symbols of our democracy, like the Statue of Liberty, or like the national anthem, or like the Pledge of Allegiance. And for these people to cheapen something like that, I think it's a very serious offense. And I mean, security considerations to the side. What do you think?
Well, I think that the story is going to continue to go on unless two things happen. One, the Salahis speak, which I think will happen eventually. And two, the White House has kind of been kicking the can down the road a little bit. They at first, sort of didn't want to talk about it then. They sort of were fudging about whether Desiree Rogers deserved responsibility for this. At some point, people are just going to have to put all their cards on the table and say, here's who's responsible, here's what I did, here's what you did. And then maybe the story will go away. But until that happens, people are going to talk about it for a while.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with you. And Desiree Rogers is, of course, the White House social secretary. Normally, the White House social secretary who's someone who's back in the shadows, making sure everybody has a chair at a big important function like this, standing at the gate to make sure that nobody that shouldn't be in there gets in. She is a very different kind of social secretary. She's always front and center, wearing designer gowns and things like that. Do you sense that her job may be in trouble, either of you?
I can't imagine it's not in trouble. I mean, the only way it would not be in trouble is if the Obama administration would not want to admit wrongdoing, so they would keep her on in order to save face a little bit. But I think in any other position, in any other company or any other job, you make a huge mistake like this, I think it's a fireable offense for most people. Now the White House will be able to do what they want, but by all means, I think that there's some heat under her right now.
You know what may be the fireable offense here? Upstaging the First Lady. Normally,
I know.
Normally social secretaries are there to keep the First Lady in the spotlight. This does not seem to be the way this White House social office is operating.
Well, they obviously wanted this first state dinner to be totally successful and without flaw, and that didn't happen. So I think that's the biggest cardinal sin. And be it gate crashers, be it a turkey that wasn't cooked well, be it not enough drinks, whatever the situation was, for the White House to mess up the very first state dinner, the Obama sort of coming out in terms of diplomacy on the world stage in this regard, is a big mistake.
And what makes it even more difficult for this president, he's having a pretty rough time right now, in case anybody hadn't noticed. The one thing that's really gone well in the last couple of weeks is that state dinner, except for this mess. Because, I mean, there's no question it did seem to improve relations with India. The diplomatic part of it went very well, but all of that was just washed away with all this publicity by these clowns. I mean, is this woman just a pathological liar?
Oh, the Salahis? It certainly seems as though she has a hard time finding the truth. Was she a Redskins cheerleader? Everyone says no. There's a new report saying she was a USA pageant, Miss USA pageant contestant. I mean, I don't think that's probably accurate either.
She changed her name.
She changed her name. Apparently, her name was Molly in high school. Now it's Mikkel, or no one even knows how to say their names anymore. But it certainly seems that the truth is nowhere in their stratosphere. Yes.
Couple of big parties in Washington this weekend that are not really crashable, at least we used to not think they are. The Kennedy Center Honors. I don't think there'll be many crashers there, because this is an event that people have to pay to get into, and they pay dearly. So they're really careful about who comes in that. And because the president often comes, there is a lot of security. The other one is the Gridiron Winter Dinner, which normally does not draw a big crowd. The spring dinner always draws a crowd. The winter dinner is just kind of a few club members, but this year, as their speaker, they have Sarah Palin, and it turns out it's a sold-out deal. What about that?
And she's a very good security apparatus, so you definitely can't crash that. You're right. Both the Kennedy Center event is going to be very difficult to crash if that's your cup of tea. I mean, it's hard for press to get into that. Gridiron Dinner, as you know, is a very small, intimate club. There's only, I think, about 60 members, and they only get, I think, about 4 tickets each. So if you see somebody who's out of place, it's going to be really obvious very quickly. And you're right, because they do get such a VIP lineup, and it's literally so small that, you know, in the spring dinner, you can just go up to the president and interrupt his dinner and say, "Hi, I'm Bob Schroeder. I'm in Schroeder Mullins." You know, so for those reasons, they really take a lot of precautions to keep that one safe.
Do we put too much emphasis on social life in Washington? I think sometimes we do, but most of the time I think we don't, because a lot of what is important and happening begins sometimes at these social occasions.
Well, you know as well as anyone, I mean, a lot of business gets accomplished, and especially at something like a state dinner. I mean, really, truly, business gets accomplished. There's no reporters there. You can have nice conversation. That is the whole point. But I definitely think Washington has 2 levels, you know, the day and the night. And a lot of times it's the night things in which you get introduced and you network and you are able to sort of move the ball forward because of those introductions and because of just being in the same room with people, which in Washington is so small, it's so easy to do. So I definitely think that there's enough emphasis on social areas at night. Yeah, sure.
What, Patrick, do you think is going to happen to these Salahis?
I think they will be called to subpoena. I think that there probably will be some sort of criminal move against them. I don't know if they'll go to jail, but I'm sure they'll definitely get some sort of mark against their record. I think what's going to be more interesting is what's going to happen after that. How will they be embraced by social DC? How will they be embraced by reality TV? Will they, or are these people going to be outcast? In other words, in their effort to get in the circles that they want to so badly, did their gate crashing mean that they're going to be forever banned from it? That'll be interesting to watch.
They should move.
Yeah.
I want to thank both of you for being with us today. Have a nice holiday season. Now we go to Unplugged Under 40. This week, Kaylee Hartung talked with Ned Dishman, who's turned a hobby into quite a job.
It's every athlete's dream to be on a Wheaties box. And it's every sports photographer's dream to take that picture.
I ran down the supermarket with one in each hand, yelling out.
Who's that laughing?
Yes. Okay.
So has it started yet? I guess not.
Florida about 4 and Texas 15.
It's every athlete's dream to be on a Wheaties box. And it's every sports photographer's dream to take that picture.
I ran down the supermarket with one in each hand, yelling out. People look at me like I was crazy, like I really like Wheaties a lot.
Ned Dishman shot this photo of Kevin Garnett in 2008 when the Celtics came to Washington. It was Ned's first season as the Wizards' team photographer.
And that's what you hope, that when that one shot does happen, that everybody wants to see or needs to see, that you're ready for it.
Ned grew up wanting to be a baseball player, but when an elbow injury sidelined his dream, he turned to taking pictures as a hobby. And before he knew it, sports photography became his life. When he's not on the court with the Wizards, he's on the sidelines with the Redskins.
Shooting basketball and shooting football is not the same craft.
No, very different, very different. Shooting football is a lot harder. Basketball, they're going back and forth and they're coming right to you. So it's comfortable for me because I'm sitting in a chair and I don't have to move. And then football is such a wide open space.
So Ned runs up and down the sidelines, 3 cameras and an assistant in tow. When I caught up with him at the Broncos game, he snapped 2,000 photos, 500 keepers. But he's only human.
You do miss plays, and in football, it may be on the other side of the field. So then you'd get the celebration. But players do really appreciate it when you get a photo of a big play, because they're going to have that forever.
And capturing that big play can be a little easier when you have big playmakers in the game, no matter which team they're playing for.
You know, win or lose, I love to see the Wizards and the Redskins win, but it doesn't always happen, so at least I can get a good photo. Yeah. So I'll throw some encouraging words out there. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt, right?
Shooting the Wizards is a different ballgame for Ned, literally. He has a system of remote cameras, transmitters, and strobe lights set up around the court.
It's a very unique set of skills, using the strobes and the remotes.
You're not just pointing and shooting.
No, not at all.
Under one basket, Ned takes photos on his handheld camera, and he uses a second trigger on that camera to operate the 3 remote cameras he's carefully set up on the other side of the court.
Because it's going to be there all game, so you got to make sure it looks right. Each team helps decide what remotes I'm going to do.
So you're doing your homework before.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, say if the team has a really big man, like, you know, Yao Ming's 7'6", you adjust your remotes on the glass and you raise them a little bit. But if you say like a Dwayne Wade is a shorter guy, but he's real explosive, so you just tilt things a little lower, you go a little more left, a little right.
Against the Cavaliers, he had 2 cameras shooting through the backboard glass, just waiting for LeBron James to dunk, and another camera under the basket.
This camera can be in a way a little bit in harm's way, but usually it rarely gets hit.
Have you ever had a camera taken out?
Not bad. Not bad, no.
Have you ever been taken out on the sidelines?
I've been taken out. Shaq's fallen on me. LeBron's kicked me in the head.
At a big game, there can be 40 photographers angling for that money shot. But with Ned's remote cameras in hard-to-reach places and help from the strobe lights, he has an angle no one else can get.
There's 30 teams in the NBA, and there's probably 25 team photographers in the league, and I'm trying to make it stand out as much as I can.
At 28 years old and his 3rd season in the business, I think it's safe to say Ned's doing a pretty good job for himself right now.
Wow, I had no idea, Kaylee, that they use that many cameras and it's as complicated as it is. A really good piece. Kaylee, in addition to keeping up with the younger folk in Washington, is also our office college football handicapper. We got some big ones coming this weekend, Kaylee.
We do. Number 1 Florida against number 2 Alabama for the SEC championship. A lot of people are thinking of this as a national title game, and if you think about it, number 1 and 2, head to head, even if they are in the same conference, it's going to be a great game. You know, the bookies are picking Florida, but I've got a lot of confidence in Nick Saban and his ability to pull through in those big games, so we'll see. I'm not betting any money on it.
Well, the other one, Texas and Nebraska. The line, I think Texas favored by 15. You think that's about right?
Oh, I think that's a safe bet for Texas. And I think when it's all said and done, we'll see Florida and Texas in the national championship in January.
Of course, if Nebraska did sneak through and beat Texas, that means that TCU might wind up in that championship game with the winner of Florida-Alabama. In case anybody didn't know, that's where I went to school. Thank you very much. You knew that. Thank you very much, Kaylee. And thanks for watching Washington Unplugged. I'm Bob Schieffer, and don't forget to watch us on TV this Sunday when I'll be talking to Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Secretary of Defense Robert Gates about Afghanistan. Have a great weekend.